It was quite the active MLB trade deadline on Thursday. 34 trades were made, but we're here on the Bombers Beat podcast to focus specifically on the trades the New York Yankees made. We'll talk about the haul of players that they had, received prior to today. But this day here, July 31st, was legitimately for the Yankees all about getting bullpen help. They acquire David Bednar, they acquire Jake Bird, and they acquire Camilo Doval. They also got Jose Caballero as well. But the three bullpen arms are really what I want to focus on for today. So let's start with the first deal of the day for the Yankees, and that was acquiring Padres. Excuse me, the Padres made some trades as well, but Pirates closer David Bednar. They were able to acquire him for a package of players that are revolved around a catcher prospect, Rafael Flores, Edgelin Perez, and Brian Sanchez. Two other minor leaguers go to Pittsburgh. And, this is one of those ones where I think Bednar has been, had a tough start to the season, had a tough last year, but has been really, really rock solid lately for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So you want to take a look at his quick splits here over the start of the season here in 2025. Had that 5.14 ERA in his 7 March/April games, 3.86 ERA in May, no ERA in June, 0.96 so far in July. And if we really want to just kind of break it down here, really since about, if you want to go from about Memorial Day weekend on, so this from the start of Memorial Day weekend, Bednar has thrown 23 and a third innings pitched and allowed 2 total runs, 1 earned, while striking out 29 and 23 innings pitched, walked only 5. So, he has been truly dominant, really, over the last 2+ months now, 8-9 weeks, whatever it's been since Memorial Day. And it's really good to see him have that sort of success so far this year. Obviously, this was a guy that prior to last year, was highly successful in the closer role for Pittsburgh. If you want to go back and look at what he did in 2022 and 2023, he was an all-star both seasons, led the National League in saves in 2023, was essentially a 7-win player from 2021 to 2023 combined in his first 3 years in Pittsburgh, and really his first 3 years in the major leagues starting as a rookie. He technically made 17 appearances for the Padres in 2019 and 2020, but he was still eligible as a rookie in 2021. And aside from last year, has been really, really good in his role. Pretty simple repertoire for him. It's a 4-seam and a curve. He works in a splitter a little bit, but he tends to work a high 4-seam fastball and plays off that with a curveball. And so we're going to see a lot of that fastball curveball movement from him. Career high K rate this year, 33.1% on his K rate. Not quite a career low, but second career low in terms of exit velocity average off of him, under 89 miles an hour. But it is really good to see him have the success that he's been having. And really, really great guy to have in the back end of the bullpen to add into additionally to Devin Williams, into Luke Weaver. I imagine that Devin Williams is going to remain the quote-unquote closer, at least for right now. But getting an arm like Bednar that you can use in that role if needed, especially as you start to want to shorten games, particularly in the postseason, especially when you don't have Fried or Rodon on the mound. I think that he's going to provide a ton of value there. So I'm really excited for this player. I'm really excited to get him in pinstripes. He's going to be a key addition to this team. And I think the package was fine. Rafael Flores was their 8th best prospect, but he was somebody that was willing to move in this deal. You didn't give up a high leverage arm. You didn't give up one of your top prospects. You didn't give up a young guy off of your roster right now. And I think the important part, too, to remember is that Bednar's got another year of team control. So this is not a straight rental. He will be a key part of the Yankees bullpen in 2026, as well as the rest of this season. Trade number 2 that was made was with the Rockies. The Yankees get Jake Bird. Is a guy I know a lot of you may not have heard of, but he has had a really interesting season. Really big fan of his so far. See what he can become. Just turned 26 or is only 26 years old. He has pitched the last 4 years in Colorado to relative anonymity. You look at his ERA, his career ERA of 4.57. You look at, his career ERAs range from 4.3 to 4.9. You're probably like, what is this guy going to bring to the table? But obviously getting out of Colorado will be extremely beneficial to him. Like, for example, his FIP is 3.45 this year, despite his 4.73 ERA. He strikes out a good amount of batters, 62 strikeouts in 53 innings pitched. He is more of the Matt Blake sweeper sinker prototype. So you're going to see him work heavy sweeper, heavy sinker, works in a little bit of a curve. Every once in a while, I think he's thrown 30 total true fastballs this year, whether cut fastballs or four-seamers. Not really something he works in a ton. But yeah, he is a sweeper, sinker, curveball type of guy. And I imagine coming with Matt Blake and working with him, he's going to be, a heavy sweeper, sinker guy for the Yankees. Really, really high ground ball rate. So somebody that is going to do a really good job of keeping the ball on the ground. Now, I know the Yankees defense has got to play their worth, but for the relatively reasonable price that they acquired him for, Rock Riggio and Ben Shields, I'm really happy with that. Again, this is another guy with team control for the Yankees as well. Somebody that is, probably you're not going to see a lot, maybe necessarily in the ninth inning. But is somebody that is going to be a useful piece in the middle of that bullpen for some time now. He's got 3 more years of team control. He's got all 3 RBIs on his deal. So he is somebody that is going to be a factor for the Yankees going forward. And again, fits right in to the type of player that the Yankees have acquired and have had a lot of success with in recent years. And then the third pitcher that the Yankees acquired was Camilo Doval. And that was a really exciting deal that they were able to get done there. And again, they needed arms. And this is another player that, again, struggled last year, but has a prolonged repertoire of success. Jesus Rodriguez, Tristan Vierling, Parks Harbor, and a prospect to be named later. Which I believe is Carlos De La Rosa, are the players that went back there. 3.09 ERA this year. And again, if you look at last year, he was a little bit elevated, had some struggles last season, got removed from the closer role. But someone who was an all-star and led the National League in saves in 2023. Somebody that's had a prolonged amount of success in San Francisco. And just another tough arm to go up against. Slider cutter. It's all his stuff breaks. So he's thrown 3 types of pitches this year. It's slider, it's cutter, and it's sinker. And I think that's kind of what you're used to. He's thrown the sinker a lot less this year than he has really at any point in his career. And he's really leaned in on that cutter a little bit more. But he's a guy who's going to throw the slider a ton. Throws the slider more than 50% of the time. And, he's going to hit you with a 90-mile-an-hour slider and a 98-plus mile-an-hour cutter. And again, pretty low walk rate. Normally it's been a bit of an issue lately. I would say that was going to be the concern is can you get the walks a little bit down? The last 2 years have been a little bit elevated in that walk total compared to what it's been in years past. But, overall, this is, again, a different type of pitcher, but somebody that, again, has been successful in the major leagues for really the majority of his career, and offers you a little bit of a different type of look as you are seeing him than some of the other guys that they've gotten. And again, much like the other two guys in the trade, team control. 2 more years of team control for Camilo Doval as he goes into his age 28 and 29 seasons. So this is another guy who is going to be an impact player for the Yankees bullpen for multiple seasons. And I think that's the big takeaway for me as I look at this, is obviously they needed to get better in the bullpen. The bullpen has been a major issue for this team all season long, but particularly the last month or so, whether it's through injuries, poor performance, or basically relying on guys that were really strong at one point or at times last year and then just haven't been able to cut the mustard, for lack of a better phrase, when they've been given a larger opportunity this year or extended opportunity this year. But what they were able to do is not only did they add 3 really important big arms to this bullpen that, again, you're going to add in, to a team where you already have, Luke Weaver, you already have Devin Williams. You look at some of the other pieces, Mark Leiter's going to come back. You've got Tim Hill, who you're using a ton out of the bullpen. And then you're going to kind of see how these other pieces fit in for you now, where guys that you were relying on, but now you necessarily don't have to. Because right now you look at Bednar, Williams, Doval, Weaver, Hill, Bird. I think those 6 you're pretty confident in those 6. And then the question's going to be who are going to be the next 2. Who are going to be that. You got Ian Hamilton, you got Loaizaga, who I think are probably the next 2 as of now, but eventually you're going to bring back Fernando Cruz and you're going to bring back Mark Leiter, and that's probably knocks those guys out. You got Brubaker, De Los Santos. But for now, I think you're looking at, I think when healthy, right now, I think you're looking at, just assume everybody's healthy at the same time. I think it's Bednar, Williams, Doval, Weaver, Hill, Bird, Leiter Jr., and Fernando Cruz. I think those are the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those are the 8. And so we'll see how the rest of this works out. What happens when Luis Hill comes back? Is he going to go to the bullpen? If not, who in the rotation is going to the bullpen? Is Schlittler going to go to the bullpen? Or are you going to put him back down? So there's somebody that might be an odd man out even in that bullpen scenario. Now, again, Cruz and Mark Leiter aren't coming back yet. So there is some time to make those decisions, but I'm feeling so much better about what this bullpen is going to be right now. And, unfortunately, I know the Yankees weren't able to get a starter. I know they checked in. Brian Cashman said they checked in, knocked on a lot of doors, I believe was his quote. We found out that about 15 minutes before the deadline that, Sandy Alcantara was not going to be traded. Neither would Edward Cabrera. And so I, in some ways, it's a little disappointing, but I feel like Yankees fans will probably be pretty happy with what they got. And also considering that they didn't get, Alcantara or Edward Cabrera, meant that they didn't have to give up a Spencer Jones or a Ben Rice or a Cam Schlittler. You know what I mean? So they were able to keep, all of their top prospects and still make this move. And then Jose Caballero was a really interesting one as well. I don't want to completely gloss over that trade that happened today. And because of a massive rain delay in the game that the Yankees did end up winning, by the way. So which was nice. The Yankees win 3 in a row, too, and 4 or 5 here. So that's really exciting. Was Jose Caballero. Coming over from the Rays, and this is going to be, and Oswald Peraza ends up getting moved out. I believe. Let me double check because this stuff got a little crazy. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was moved to the Los Angeles Angels, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So the Yankees end up sending Oswald Peraza to the Angels. I'm not surprised there. They end up getting Wilberson DePena and some international bonus pool money. So again, nothing crazy, but the Yankees basically have given up on the Oswaldo Cabrera experience. So, but Jose Caballero is a really interesting player, a heavy steal guy, led the American League with 44 steals last year, leads the American League with 34 steals so far this year. There's not a lot here This is a fairly strong fielder. But here's what he does. He fields well, he walks, he steals bases. That's what he's there for. So this is going to be kind of just essentially a bench bat for the Yankees. But if they're going to have a bench bat that allows them to make some defensive upgrades as needed throughout it, there are pinch running opportunities. Again, you start thinking about what's going to happen in the postseason. And can you find a pinch runner you can use late in games or in the postseason? And particularly, can you find one that's not like a Terrence Gore? Can you find someone that has some value on your team other than just being a pinch runner? And this is a player that has played, second base, third base, shortstop, and the outfield. He's done that all this year, by the way. He even pitched a game, fun fact. But yeah, so he's played, let me see here. He's got 40 innings. Yeah, so he's got 203 innings in the outfield this year, 240 innings at shortstop, 76 innings at third, and 103 innings at second. So hasn't really shown that he's super great at second base, but I'll tell you this: he's shown to be an above average fielder at shortstop and above average fielder in right field. So we'll see how they use him. But, you can play second, can play third, can play short. It's important to have that piece to your team. And again, is really, really good at getting on base in terms of walks. Again, it's not a strong hitter. I think you just have to realize that. But overall, just a solid set of additions for the Yankees. And then I think you want to if we want to touch on very briefly, because these trades have already happened, in advance, even though we haven't done a Bombers beat. We did a Bombers beat on the right, breaking down the entire Ryan McMahon trade. So I don't think we really need to revisit that. I would encourage you to do a full breakdown on him. But let's talk about two other players, because the Yankees hitting bench is completely different than it was before. We just talked about Caballero. Ahmed Rosario was another player that came over for the Yankees, another one that's going to play left side of the infield, although, again, not the best defensively, and I really don't think you want to play him much at shortstop, but he does mash against left-handed pitching, and the Yankees are going to kind of give themselves some options with a very lefty-heavy and switch to the right side heavy lineup with their starters. They need some lefty beaters on the bench, and I think that's a guy that's going to be one of them for them. Another one was Austin Slater, who's really interesting. He's actually one of the best pinch hitters. Maybe I should even say one of the best. He is the best pinch hitter in baseball. Is somebody that is going to put up really strong numbers with the bat, particularly strong against left-handed hitting or left-handed pitching. So again, this is another guy that can play in the outfield, another guy that can be a lefty beater, and someone that not only can pinch hit against lefties, excels at it. Like he is. I don't know if you take a look at his Baseball Reference profile, it's really funny. Like you will see his second position goes outfielder, pinch hitter, and first baseman. Legitimately, like in terms of win probability added, wins above replacement. He is by far the best pinch hitter in baseball. So again, and obviously he'll play the outfield as well. It's got, all things of that nature. So, and again, he hasn't been terrible with the bat in just general scenarios, like with Chicago, with the White Sox this year in 123 at-bats, he does have a 721 OPS. Again, nothing you're really going to write home about, a 99 OPS plus. He's fine. He's a perfectly serviceable bench player, but he's going to serve the role that the Yankees need from him. So, overall, I'd say this was a really strong deadline for the New York Yankees. And even though they didn't end up getting a starter, even though they didn't end up getting what turned out to be the gem of the relief market with Mason Miller going to the Padres, I think the key thing here is that the Yankees did not move on from any of their top prospects. They moved only one of their top dozen prospects. And I think that's really, really exciting. Obviously, that was the Rafael Flores who got moved to Pittsburgh in the David Bednar deal. But, I think that's really something that I'm excited about. And you start to look at, like, even if you're a guy that watches like their top 30, let's take a look here on guys that moved. So you got 3 controllable bullpen arms. which is a huge. 3 controllable bullpen arms, couple bench bats, and you moved your number 8 prospect, Rafael Flores. You moved your number 13 prospect, Edgelin Perez. Your number 14 prospect, Everson Pereira. He was in the Jose Caballero deal. You moved your number 19 prospect, Tristan Vierling. You moved your number 25 prospect, Jesus Rodriguez. Considering some of the other moves that were made and some of the other players that had to go, I mean, you didn't move Lombard, you didn't move LaGrange, you didn't move Schlittler, you didn't move Jones, you didn't move Cunningham, you didn't move ERC, you didn't move Hess. I mean, I think that's a pretty big win, if you ask me. The Yankees got better. They didn't give up anything that you would look at and say, oh, they're going to really regret. Again, you never know. But they didn't give up anything on the surface today, July 31st. You sit back and say, oh, man, they're going to regret that one. So I got to say they did a really good job there. And, oh, by the way, 3-game winning streak. So I'm excited to see what this Yankees team does going forward. There's still a handful of games between them and the Toronto Blue Jays at the top. There's 3.5 games back of the Blue Jays for the top of the AL East, but they sit 3 games clear now of the playoff spot. Right now, the Mariners and the Rangers are both tied for that final wild card spot. And there's really, at this point, with the Rays selling, the Guardians were selling, you're kind of in a spot where you're looking at you have 7 teams for 6 spots right now, with obviously the Tigers, Blue Jays, and Astros leading the divisions, and you have the Yankees, Red Sox, Mariners, and Rangers. So I'm still feeling pretty good about the Yankees' chances to make the playoffs. I still feel really good. Can they crawl, into winning the division, so they don't have to play as a road wildcard team? We'll see. But the Yankees definitely got better at the trade deadline. Even if they maybe didn't make a monster splash, they didn't make a huge move, but they got better and they didn't give up any of their young stars that we think are stars coming up. I don't know how you look at that as anything other than a major victory for the Yankees.